Well, we are also watching for more from Donald Trump on the state of U.S. tariffs impacting economies around the world. This morning, we're getting new data on how that global uncertainty is impacting travel here in this country. CTV's Scott Hurst joins us now with more on that. Scott, Statistics Canada releasing some of that new travel data. Numbers from June revealing that U.S. residents made more trips to Canada than Canadian residents to the U.S. for the first time in a number of years. Take us through that.
Yeah, good morning, Matt. And these numbers just out from Stats Canada really show that trend continuing, and just going by the numbers, potentially becoming even more pronounced. Canadians continue to shun the U.S., and for the second month in a row, more Americans have come north, but travel by Americans is also down slightly. Let's break down the numbers even further that really highlight the growing rift between the two countries, as many Canadians continue to avoid travel to the U.S., as our countries, of course, remain deadlocked in this trade and tariff battle. Compared to travel last year, it continues to plummet. In July, the number of Canadians returning home from the U.S. was down, as you see there, more than 32% from the previous summer. And breaking that down further, trips back home by car, really often shorter trips, getting in a car and crossing the border to shop or for some gas, particularly if you live close to the border. It's not far just to go back and forth, but those trips were down significantly as well, by 35%. And if you mix in return trips by Canadians by air, that was down about 16%. So that's where we get in the middle of that overall number of about 32%. And the air travel trips, often potentially longer vacations to U.S. destinations, maybe further south to get a little bit more sunshine. Those down about 16%. Overall, Canadian residents return from more than 3.6 million trips abroad. That's the U.S. and other countries, Matt, combined. That as well, down more than 24%.
Certainly some significant numbers too, Scott, as we talk about those travels, and for a second month in a row, which is an interesting trend. We'll see what happens here for the rest of the fall. But when it comes to the U.S. trade war now too, right, and we talk about how is that impacting some of these travel numbers?
Matt, these are significant because, of course, the numbers that we're talking about encapsulate really the busy summer travel season, and we know that tourism is a multi-billion-dollar industry on both sides of the border, and it is suffering. We've heard from U.S. travel operators, tour operators just across the border, upstate New York or those northern states, are feeling the impact of not having as many Canadians traveling south of the border, particularly during the busy and all-important summer travel months. And I was able to find some U.S. data that backs up similar claims that are being made in the numbers from Stats Canada. And this is from the U.S. International Trade Administration that highlights that about 40 international visitors supports about 1 U.S. job. So you can bet that the loss of so many Canadian travelers will impact U.S. jobs. Now, last year, the U.S. saw about 20 million visits from Canadians. That was 2024, making Canada one of the top source of international tourists to the U.S., according to the U.S. Travel Association. This group said earlier this year those visits generated about $20 billion in spending and supported more than 140,000 U.S. jobs. And so having a significant drop that appears to be continuing likely is having a significant impact on that side of the border, Matt.
Yeah, so one more offshoot of this trade war. Okay, CTV Scott Hurst for us this morning. Thanks, Scott, for this. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.